You look so tense. By the way, did you get to choose the university?
No, I'm unable to find a university that meets my requirements.
Whoa. Meet your requirements? What exactly are you looking for?
I'm looking for a place that gives me an opportunity to grow, to excel, to invent, and to innovate. I want to be a part of an institution that paves my way to discover myself and to witness the world moving forward in technology. I want to go to a place that sets a futuristic pattern of education filled with ideas and radical performances. Basically, I want to live my dream.
Dayanand Sagar University. Live the dream.
So we are good to go. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
Right, sir. Vice Chancellor, sir, are we good to go? I think sir is not there on the call. Do we have the Vice Chancellor, sir, on the call?
I don't see him on the participant list, panelist list.
I think he some issues that side.
Yeah, do you want to call him Shaukat? Sir?
I'll just call him.
Please, thanks.
Sir is not lifting the call. Sir, anybody is able to get in touch with the Vice Chancellor?
I'm trying to connect, but not reachable, sir. I'm trying to connect.
I called, but he is not taking the call. Maybe some issues.
Yes,
In case if sir joins,
maybe some issue.
we'll have sir session. Otherwise, Arvind sir, after my
Yes, sir.
introduction, sir is calling. Sir. Okay, sir. Sure. Okay. So some internet issues at side. So we will start the program.
Sure, sir. We'll go ahead.
And sir will join us in between. So good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to all our speakers for today's event. And also a warm welcome to all the students who have joined us today to get to know more about careers in electronics and communication engineering with new age specializations and the way forward. We have been over the last couple of months getting a lot of queries from students in terms of what are the new developments in our electronics and communication engineering programs. And we felt it is a good opportunity for us to look at a webinar, a virtual webinar being conducted, where we'll invite not only the senior academicians from the Dayanand Sagar University, but we'll also invite some of our friends from the industry fraternity to talk about the recent developments and the careers forward for students looking at electronics and communication engineering. Of course, with the specializations being offered in automotive electronics, embedded systems design, IoT, VLSI design, as well as signal processing. So before we move on to the speakers, I take the opportunity of introducing all the speakers for today's session. I'd like to introduce our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.N.B. Murthy. He's a professor for computer science engineering and the Vice Chancellor at Dayanand Sagar University. Sir has been the former Vice Chancellor at PES University, Bangalore. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical power engineering, master's degree in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Science, and PhD in computer science and engineering from IIT Madras. Sir has worked as a research specialist in parallel computing at New Mexico University, US. He is currently the member of Karnataka State Higher Education Council and the Academic Senate member for IIIT Dharwad. A warm welcome to sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I joined.
Our second speaker for the day is Mr. Arvind Srinivas. He has over 36 years of experience in the IT industry through TCS, working across major stages of an IT software lifecycle in different industry domains such as banking, finance, insurance, education, and manufacturing. He has worked in different roles, starting as a junior programmer, analyst, progressing to heading a multi-country account. Been a product head before being a part of a group level initiative of business excellence, interacting with aerospace, manufacturing, retail, IT, research, hospitality, and chemical companies in the Tata Group. A warm welcome to you, Arvind sir.
Thank you, Shinde. Thank you.
Our speaker number 3 for the day is Dr. Vaibhav Meshram. He's received his BTech degree from the prestigious National Institute of Technology, Kurukshetra. He's formerly known as the Regional Engineering College in Haryana in the year 1992. He did his MTech in microelectronics from the prestigious IIT Mumbai and PhD in electronics and communication from BITS Pilani in the year 2012. He has got an overall 10 plus years of experience in various engineering colleges in Mumbai and in Bangalore, and 12 plus years of industrial experience in analysis, design, development, and technical support with a focus on FPGA, system on chip, ASIC, and board level design, hardware design operations, hardware design methodologies, tool, flow, and process. He is currently the chairman for the Department of Communication, Electronics and Communication Engineering at Dayanand Sagar University. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our
very much.
speaker number 4 for the day is from the industry, Ms. Soma Pandey. She is a general manager at Reliance Infocom Limited. She is a senior executive with over 20 years of experience in wireless R&D, design and development, with a sharp eye in evaluating future technology trends and valuation of technology solutions. She has a wide experience in embedded systems and wireless networks, with a good knowledge of executing tough projects from beginning to end, and have broad exposure from IT to wireless networking. She has led projects in developing intelligent middleware for various embedded and network control centers. Her key focus areas are in the IoT sensors and the integration to the gateway of integration to network core. An expert in architecting various E2E IoT solutions, good understanding of low power networks for last mile and middle mile connectivity. Expert in IoT solutioning from end node, both power rich and low power, to cloud platform. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Srinivas. Thanks a lot.
Our speaker number 5 for the day is Dr. Yoganand Jepu. He's a principal systems engineer at Honeywell Technology Solutions Incorporated. and adjacent faculty at MIT, Mahe, and NIT Surathkal. The field of interest: model-based design and testing, artificial intelligence, formal methods for control and colony optimization, extended state observers, and embedded system security. Specialization is in the areas of control system algorithms, safety critical systems, verification and validation, system level testing, model-based system engineering, and formal methods. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Yoganand. And our speaker number 6 for the day is Mr. M.N. Guru Venkatesh. He is the Vice President, Placements and Skill Development Center at Dayanand Sagar Group. Sir has done his BE in Computer Science and an MBA with over 20 years of experience in training and placement. He has facilitated to provide job offers to more than 20,000 students till date. He is the member of World Skills International, WSI Netherlands. He's represented India in the category of IT software solutions for business as an expert come jury for World Skills competition held at Canada and also World Skills competition held at London. He's worked as a jury for national team selection for World Skills competition Germany, which was held at Delhi in association with NSDC and NASSCOM. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
We now move to the first speaker of the day. I'd like to invite the Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and he would be setting the context as well as sharing his views on the particular topic. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shindik. Good evening, honorable members on the panel, the students and parents who have joined this meeting. I'm extremely happy that Dayanand Sagar University has taken the initiative to organize webinars, campus info sessions to provide the relevant information for the students to make an informed choice about their future course of study. We have been doing it in the last 15 to 20 days and specifically focusing on each program of study so that you get a fair idea with regard to what is being studied in a program like electronics and communication engineering, and also what are the career opportunities for the graduates in electronics and communication, and also provide you the future of acceleration of the kind of growth in electronics and communication. I'm sure we have completed almost at the end of wave 2 of the pandemic. Probably we are getting ready for wave 3, if at all it exists, if it's going to come through. At the same time, the life should go on and all of us have to plan for our future career prospects and move on with our life. And this particular thing is, we had some kind of uncertainty, some kind of disturbance in the day, the way we live, the way we work, the way we study, and etc. I'm sure some of the questions that we had have been answered now. I think the board exams have been cancelled, and ultimately a methodology has been arrived to announce the results very soon, both the CBSE and the state level. Now the next question is the entrance exams. I'm sure the entrance exams also more or less the doubts have been cleared. CET exam will go on and things like that, and more or less we know when exactly is going to happen. I'm sure we're also trying to look at the multiple options, like the private universities, and you need to prepare for the exams and other things. But 2 or 3 things that you need to know before exactly choosing a a course of study. One other thing that you need to know is how the future is going to be, because you're not going to graduate tomorrow, you're going to graduate 4 years down the line. Therefore, it's necessary for you to know what kind of things that would happen in the future, in the next 5 to 10 years. That will decide more or less the scheme, the method that you have to adopt to succeed. Several progressive organizations have made some predictions, like World Economic Forum and many others, like Harvard Business Review, MIT Technology Review, and several others. They have made about several predictions. One of the predictions is the future is going to be very different from what we see today because of the complex disruption that's going to happen in view of technology evolution. There will be a lot of technology that's going to be involved in every walk of life, in every aspect. Thereby, there's a complex disruption that's going to happen. The second prediction that's also been made is that about 65 to 70% of the jobs that we see today, they will vanish in the next 5 to 10 years because of the automation, because of the use of technology in various domains. Of course, the automation is very much required for achieving the use of huge, the efficiency, the cost, and also the comfort level, because this is the reason why the automation has been brought in. There's one thing that all of us need to remember. The second thing that we also need to remember is that the future requires a different kind of preparation or different kind of education. And whichever institution that you're going to join must provide a different kind of education. That education must prepare the students for solving or looking at the problems, looking at the issues, looking at the questions of society, and also the research kind of things, government, industry. Therefore, the preparation must be of different type and order. What kind of education is required? The education that's required is the education must build what is called as the technology, the information, and media fluency. That's one thing which is to happen. Second, the education institutions must teach contextual curriculum, means what is relevant to the present day is to be taught. The third, the education institutions must adopt the interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approach. Though you are going to study a program of study like electronics and communication engineering, you also need to know a little bit of mechanical, little bit of biology, little bit of computer science and other things. That's required in the future. The next thing is the students must learn to work in a team, in a collaborative way. That's the thing. Next, the students need to learn by what is called as the project-based learning. The learning by doing some projects, solving some problems. Then the problem-solving skills are going to be very, very critical. Then thinking skills is the other one which the students have to learn going forward. The other prediction that's this the kind of skills that are required, which any education institution which is going to impart these kinds of things are the ones which will provide the platform for the students to succeed in the future in the wake of what is called as the complex disruption. How about the jobs? Jobs are also the kind of job that we're going to see in the future are new kind of jobs wherein the permanent jobs may not exist. The consultancy-based jobs may be present, or project-based. If there's a project, only for the duration of the project, the work will be available. Then contract kind of thing. For a 1 year, 2 years kind of contract, kind of jobs are going to be present. I'm sure any education institution which has realized these kinds of things, which is going to incorporate these things, are the institutions which will provide the right kind of education for the students to face the future. Coming to the new education policy, it's also been indicated that there'll be a lot of reforms in terms of the personalized learning, because the student need not have to learn a single kind of thing. The student can learn from multiple institutions, multiple means, multiple resources, through the online kind of thing, through the classroom teaching, offline, online, all those kind, which is blended learning. That's one thing. Then the credit for all the engagements have to be given. For example, if a student is going to do an industry visit, there'll be some kind of credits that are going to be given. A student can go to a university, work there, and come back and resume the regular kind of thing. The credits must be assigned. I'm sure Dayanand Sagar University, which is a very progressive university, which has understood all this, will be able to provide the important things that are required. I'm extremely happy that Dayanand Sagar University will look at the kind of education which will be meeting one important requirement, that is technology-based, job-led kind of education, where the jobs are going to be plenty. With this few opening remarks, the experts would tell you more about the scope of electronics communication engineering, and more or less in my understanding, with whatever the experience that I have in the last 4 decades, I have seen there's a shift that's happening from one branch of engineering to other branch of engineering. Of late, it has become multidisciplinary now. Earlier, civil engineering was the very the core. Then mechanical took that place. Now electronics has taken that place, where everywhere electronics has a role to play, starting from anything that you're going to talk about. Therefore, electronics and communication has plenty of things to offer. The experts would well more on that. I'm extremely happy that you have taken time off your busy schedule to be with us this evening. And I wish each one of you very best of luck, and also thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to be present in this webinar come campus info session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Now I'd like to take the opportunity of inviting Mr. Anvin Srinivas, and he would be touching upon the topic in terms of why engineering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shinde. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I'll share my screen in a minute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I want all of you to just understand as to why you need to follow your passion. Engineers make a world a better place. They take some fuzzy ideas and turn it into something real. So they use the maths and science to solve your problems of typical day-to-day life. Therefore, most people are happy when you follow your passion. Therefore, just develop the passion for whatever program of study or discipline of engineering which you want to follow. So essentially, just follow your dreams. Play to your strengths, talents, and gifts. Everyone is gifted, and celebrate your successes, whether it be small or whether it's big. The most certain way to bring value to your life and joy is a sense of achievement. When you bring value to somebody, what does it mean? It means you try to do something for others in terms of work which you're going to do professionally or personally. And that's exactly what you need to follow your dreams. And that's why I call it as following your dreams. So if your passion is problem solving, then look at this particular problem. Initially, all these disks are placed one above the other. It's called as the Tower of Hanoi problem.
Screen sharing is not there. We're not seeing your screen.
The screen sharing is not yet come.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, now it's come.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about fueling your passion and try to solve problems. If your passion is to solve a problem, then what you see on the screen is typically what you're required to do. What you see is actually something called as a well-known problem called as the Tower of Hanoi. It's got primarily 4 discs, as you can see, and you can move only one piece at a time within the 3 places. And you have basically 4 pieces, and you can do this in about 15 moves, as you can see on the screen, which is moving about. But then imagine if you had 5 discs or 6 or 7 or 8, and imagine if it was some 8 square discs, then actually the number of times you can think is almost humongous. It takes about 585 billion years even to take the entire tower vertically like the way it's organized, and that's engineering. So if you're interested in some kind of problem solving, this is where you need to be. And that's exactly what I said, follow your passion and just go forward in terms of whatever you're doing. So essentially, what does an engineer do? An engineer tries to identify the problem, plan, execute, verify, and solve the problem. But again, after solving the problem, it becomes stale, and you will have definitely over time certain things change. And then you have to improve the solution and then identify the solution which is for the improvement and then keep going along. So it's essentially a continuous improvement cycle, which you typically have for an engineer. So what you need to do is unlock your potential, as simple as that. If you have your potential, then you should try to do that here. So if you are interested in this kind of a Rubik cube, as you can see here, if you're interested in this 3 by 3 Rubik cube and try to solve this in about 20 moves, which is considered optimal for a 3 cubic cube, then this is where you need to be. Or if you're trying to look at this 4-piece puzzle, then exactly this is where engineering is all about. Engineering is also about kindling your curiosity and creativity. Scientists tend to explore the natural world and discover certain new things about the universe and how it works. Whereas an engineer applies that knowledge learned in solving practical day-to-day problems, often focusing on cost, efficiency, and other limits. Scientists observe the world while engineers focus on creating a world. The modern era we live is not possible without the marvels of engineering, whether it be microchip or high-speed internet or mobile networks and many more things. Scientists investigate what's already available, whereas an engineer creates something that was not there before. It's the science that describes the electromagnetic radiation, but it's engineering to build a radio or a TV. Many of the so-called wonders of modern science are nothing but engineering marvels. So this is where, if you're curious to know like this, what it's trying to do, or if you remember this small Simba trying to figure out what it's trying to do, this is exactly what engineering is all about if you're interested in these kind of things. And I'm sure you're familiar with this Fitbit. I'm sure that it's very familiar. How is it done? This is actually an application of what we call in engineering, which you will hear later in the day, and what we call as an Internet of Things. It's an application of one of the things called an Internet of Things. Or if you come to a corporate world, you see a small conference room here. And this is exactly another application of an Internet of Things, which you will see when you come out of the engineering and get into a corporate world. Or look at this. This sounds quite familiar to you, probably because you must have probably heard about Alexa or the Google Assistant, speech recognition, where digital signal processing is used. This is exactly where, if you're interested, then you could definitely be an engineer. Or look at this. This is a typical photocopier. In engineering terms, what one also calls as analog signals. See, the fact that I am talking to you is what we call analog signals or too much of noise. There is a lot of noise in these analog signals, which are human voice and things like that. Whereas the digital signals are those which don't have so much of noise. And this photocopier, which you remember, is the old one making a lot of noise. But then about 3 decades ago, we also got Ricoh, which invented a digital photocopier. The first digital copier coming in from Ricoh, and then later on Canon and all that. So essentially, this is an application of what digital photocopier, or what we call as digital signals. Or look at this. This is something much more closer to what's happening in the current day. This is something where you try to do that. This is nothing but a small microprocessor based system, which is actually the heart of all computer systems. It's used to build a system which can perform multiple tasks by using a traditional transistor, by avoiding the use of a traditional transistor, and thus making the system very compact in size. And it's just the basic building block of many of the 3rd and 4th generation computers, That makes it compact and mobile. We'll see of this much later. Or look at this, which is very well known to all of us, the ultra speed internet, which many of us are currently using in this current Zoom call. An example of fiber optics, which is an example of the communications, which is part of one of the subjects which you will probably be knowing much later in the course of the day today. Or look at this, for example. This is something what we call another reason for becoming an engineer. Synthesizing the connections. It's basically connecting information from multiple sources to form conclusions and act upon it. You can see this different pieces. It's not an IKEA mart, but definitely a small piece of different pieces where you get it. And of course, this is where your thinking changes. And as you can see, you'll obviously be able to get the placement much better in engineering, or probably higher study opportunity of your own university elsewhere, depending on what you want to do. So what is connecting all these dots? If you see connecting all these dots, this is where you can see the various dots get cluttered. As you can see, the years going past, it becomes more and more cluttered. And that's exactly where you need some kind of a high-speed thinking. And that's where we have got electronics, which has become very common in judging in sports. And some of you probably are watching the Roland Garros final, Nadal versus Djokovic right now, electronic judging in sports. Humans have become fallible, and judging who has won a tennis game has come down to a millimeter accurate decision. And so when a small borderline case is done, like what you see on the right-hand side of the screen, then we turn to electronics. And this is where we use the kind of electronics which is used to assist judgment calls of the officials. And this is what we use the position, the speed of object. And this is what we use here. Or look at this. This is probably something much more familiar to most of you. And this is where I would call something where is a favorite player currently, Virat Kohli, trying to hit a 6. And you can see the tracking of the ball, which is going all over the place. This is again yet another application of how the whole thing is happening over here. All this ultimately leads you to intellectual development, which is what we are trying to showcase over here. And what kind of intellectual development from a different perspective, if you look at it, this is something what you will see as what you must have probably seen this kind of a picture with your seniors or friends or relatives or somebody who has opened a computer shop nearby and all that. This is nothing but a small integrated circuit technology with numerous devices on a single chip. Very large scale integration is a process of embedding or integrating hundreds of thousands of transistors into a single silicon semiconductor chip. So if this is something which interests you, then this is where you need to be. So what is it that this is used for? How is this applied in our typical day-to-day life? You'll see this here. Turning your smartphone. Did you know that your smartphone is nothing but an example of a live application of an embedded system? In fact, you definitely should see this and be an engineer to figure out what this is all about. So as you can see right now on the screen, there are various colors which are coming in over here. And this spectrum of colors which you see in the screen, right from the violet to red, is where engineering offers a variety of programs like the different colors which you see on the screen. And you have any choice, whichever you want to choose. And that's where you have a typical list which I have listed over here, starting in alphabetical order with aerospace. And today, you'll all be hearing more from our industry experts and also from the chairman of the Electronics and Communication Department head. Thank you very much for your patience and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. We would now like to move to the next speaker for the day. I'd like to invite Dr. Vaibhav Meshram, and sir will give a complete perspective of the program that is currently being run at Dayanand Sagar University. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, my slide is visible, sir.
Yes, sir. We can see the logo of DSC.
Yes, sir. And my voice is it okay,
Yes,
sir?
very
Audible?
much. Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, panel member, Honorable VC, sir, and our industry experts. I'm Dr. Vaibhav from Dayanand Sagar University. Good evening, dear students and parents. I will take you. I'm a chairman in ECE department. So, electronics and communication engineering. I will say it's a hardware cum software engineer, and I will try to elaborate. Elaborate on this thing. A hardware cum software engineer. It is not totally a hardware engineer or not a software engineer. Electronic engineer is a hardware and software engineer. So what is electronics and communication? We'll try to see, and then we'll move to what are the job prospects and what are the various support that we are giving to the students in our ECE department. So what is electronics and what is communication engineering? These are two different words, and when they combine together, it will create a word. So electronics is the art of controlling the movement of electrons. in order to design a component and circuit. By the circuit, I mean your mobile phone is a circuit, laptop is a circuit, TV is a circuit, laptop, TV, and all these are the circuits. And this laptop or your TV or your mobile should communicate each other. Otherwise, it's of no use. I'm using my laptop and I'm communicating with you. TV is connected to the satellite and it's communicating with the satellites. So communication uses this electronic circuit to transit, process, and receive information between two or more locations. The basic component of electronic communication system includes a transmitter, communication medium, and a receiver. The appropriate software is required to make the hardware. That is, hardware is what? Circuit and communication to work as per specification. So as I mentioned earlier, that is the electronics and communication engineering is hardware comes software engineering. The software is required to make this hardware, that is circuits and communication, to work as per our specification and to work more intelligently, make this hardware and software to work more intelligently. We had introduced the concept of AI and machine learning in computer-aided designing, in VLSI design, in signal processing, IoT, and their intersection. I have a small video on signal processing. I hope you'll enjoy that video, and then we'll move ahead. So how the signal processing is creating the wonder that we'll try to see here. It's in voice recognition. It's in motion sensing and gaming, MPEG and JPEG audios we are storing, autonomous vehicles, totally autonomous vehicles, electronic control vehicles. We call it electronic biometric security, where we have biometrics and we have iris detection and we have finger detection. Wearable devices, that is wearable technologies. Brain-computer interfaces. We have signal processing in hearing aid and in the medical domain. In the medical domain, in the defense domain, in the stock market, we'll see in future. 3D television in the entertainment domain. In the streaming videos, we can see our mobile movies on our mobile, affordable photography, all that. SLR cameras have been gone now. In the defense sector, radar, sonar, and all these things. In the stock values and prediction. So we can say signal processing and processing is the future. Signal processing and processing is the future. Apart from this thing, we are now in the Industry 4.0 revolution. Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0. Now we are present here in the Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 totally relies on electronics and computing. There is a cloud computing, machine-to-machine interaction, 3D printing, RFID, IoTs, big data analytics, and all these things. To achieve this thing, all this thing, we at our DSU, in our electronics and communication department, we have facilities as well as the faculty. We have the following domains: communication, signal processing, embedded systems and IoT, and VLSI. So the facilities and faculties are there. Apart from this thing, the facilities, that is communication, signal processing, embedded system, and IoT, VLSI, is supported from the industry. We have the industry-sponsored lab. In the VLSI, we have an industry-sponsored lab from Mentor Graphics. For the embedded system, we have a lab supported by Bosch ITAS. It's the Bosch ITAS lab for the embedded system. We have a signal processing lab from the Analog Devices Limited, where we do all the communication and all these activities. From the signal processing, and we have the analog circuits lab, where our faculties interact continuously with the student to come out for the better project. So facilities plus faculty plus a mini project that we are starting from the 3rd semester will lead to an industry-ready hardware cum software engineer, that is electronics and communication engineering. Recently, every year we conduct a project exhibition for our 8th semester student. Because of the pandemic, we had a online project extravaganza conducted for our 8th semester student, where we had called the experts from the industries like Otis and Gill Instruments and Maxim Integrated and some industry and academy expert, they had evaluated our 8th semester project. So there were total 38 projects. It happened recently on 5th May. There were total 38 projects which were presented on four parallel track. All the projects were the best project. Evaluators from the industry and the academia had a tough time in selecting the 4 best projects, and they had a very tough time to selecting the 4 best project. The 4 best projects out of 38 were assisting health workers to avoid COVID-19 infection using IoT, image analysis based particle pollution estimation, medical multi-parameter monitor. For this, a student within collaboration with the faculty had filed a patent also. We had a DRDO sponsored project on unmanned aerial vehicle ground control software. So this is possible because of the support of the faculties, because of the support, because of the facilities available in our SOE department, and the projects that we are emphasizing that mini project activity should start from the 3rd semester onwards itself. Future job market, as our Arvind sir had mentioned, it depends on interpersonal skill, creativity, and problem solving skill. These are the 3 things that are required for an engineer to be future ready. And from morning you wake up till you go to the bed, any gadgets that you come across can be improvised using electronic. Here is where your creativity comes into the picture. And as it is our interdisciplinary, wherever you see, I've shown in my signal processing presentation that you can use electronics in a medical domain, you can use it in a mechanical domain, you can use it in aerospace domain, in whatever the domain you can like, you can use. It's left to your creativity. It's left to your creativity that how can you improvise a gadget that you come across in your day-to-day life. There is no limit for your imagination. There is no limit for your imagination. And for that reason, we have a job opportunities available in the public sectors. I had not mentioned, I don't want to limit by saying this public sector, that public sector. There are ample amount of the opportunities available in the public sector. Companies like BL, HAL, ISRO, and all these things. MNCs. And we have the presenters from Honeywell and from Reliance. They will tell you that how the electronics engineers are contributing. Electronic engineer can become an entrepreneur also. He can see that where he can put his creativity from day-to-day life, where the gadget is coming across, he can put his creativity and can become an entrepreneur. He can also get a jobs into the research labs. There are so many research labs in India as well as in abroad. He can pursue for the higher studies, MTech, MBA, or MS also. So I can say we can create intelligence in Silicon and do remember that faculties, facilities, and the project that we are doing from the 3rd semester onward will create a future-ready engineer. And future-ready, I will say future-ready engineer rather than I will say future-ready engineer. We will create a hardware come software engineer, that is an electronics and communication engineering. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present in this webinar.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
So these are my this is my email ID and my phone number. If anything you require, please let me know. I will at last I will say please take the informed decision and please contact me anytime when you need any information on the electronics and communication engineering department. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We would now take the opportunity of inviting Ms. Soma Pandey, and she would be today talking about the IoT and electronics. So over to you, ma'am. Do you want the screen sharing?
Yes, Srinivas, I'll be sharing the screen.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello and good evening, everyone. Today's talk will be focused on how electronics and communication engineering has been contributing and playing a key role in Internet of Things. So because my domain area where I'm working is on IoT sensors for Geo Platforms Limited, I will be keeping the focus on IoT, but at the same time, I'll try to cover what is the latest trends and how EC, by taking EC, you have what kind of future and what kind of jobs will be available for your career prospects. So I will first begin with one very basic, and I won't be telling very hi-fi words. I have tried to keep it as simple as possible. So there are in IoT, the hardware side of IoT, you would have heard a lot about the cloud of IoT. So you have Amazon Web Services, you have Azure and Google and all competing for the cloud platform for IoT. But because we have electronics and communication engineering in focus, I will like to present to you what is the hardware aspects of IoT and how electronics is the part of it. So we have sensors, actuators, hub, and internet on the southbound. That is, on the hardware side, we have these four major things which become a key part component of ECE. If you see sensors, so they are all comprised of motherboards and embedded system firmwares, which are developed mostly by ECE engineers. And sensors are actually, when we say sensors are of two types. One is a sensor which is detecting what is the environment around it, like motion sensor, gas leak sensor, smoke sensor. But then we also have actuators, which are mistakenly called as sensors, but actuators are basically work the other way around. Like sensor take data and send it to the cloud, but actuators take command and execute something. Like for example, a smart bulb or a smart switch or a smart plug. So we have a lot of actuators even in regular residential IoT, where you can also take some components and play around with it. And that will be a great introduction for you people for IoT. So I recommend all of you, those who are interested for EC, for a beginning, you can just buy one. Nowadays you get a smart bulb for hardly 600, 700 rupees, which is Alexa compatible. You have the Alexa app on your phone. Why don't you get a bulb and install it in your regular bulb holder, and for a beginning try creating some scenes with Alexa. It is very exciting and interesting experience. Then we also have hub. Hub is also a hardware, and of course on top of it we have firmware and device manager and a lot of other things which comprise the entire stack for the hub. But I'll just keep my focus on the electronic side. So we also have, sometimes when we talk about ECE, we just focus on the electronic side. But when you say it is electronics and communication engineering, and very, very integral part of IoT, when I say Internet of Things, so the internet part is the networking part, which is the communication part, and things, when I say, then it is the hardware part or the electronic part. So actually the network or the internet is also a part of communication engineering, and the internet stack is very much a part of your ECE curriculum. And without an internet and without a sensor, no IoT is complete. So definitely it is the most, and IoT is the latest buzzword, and most of the hip hop and happening things in the cloud or any area is revolving around the data, and data is coming mostly from sensors. So if there are no sensors, there won't be big data, there won't be data analytics, there won't be machine learning, there won't be artificial intelligence and predictive maintenance, and so many buzzwords won't be there if you don't have the basic integral part of ECE, which is the sensors, which is only from ECE curriculum. So that is one thing. Next, I'll just tell you what are the different types of IoT. We have residential IoT, industrial IoT, and agriculture IoT. So all of these IoTs, the basic part is sensor, but the type of sensor will change. Like for example, if I go for the same temperature sensor for agriculture, then the temperature sensor has to be immune to the weather. Like that same sensor, if you put inside a house, it may not be waterproof. But if I use the sensor outdoors on an agriculture field, it has to be waterproof. So like that, the basic detection technology might be the same, but the mechanical component of the sensor might differ from deployment and usage and use case and application, one application to another application. Then there are complete IoT components, which I will list out. So you begin with the sensor. Sensor sends data to a hub, and hub sends data through a network to the cloud, and then the cloud sends data to the end user to a particular app. So these are the main components of IoT: the sensor, hub, network, cloud, and app. Out of these, the cloud and the app part may be going to the computer science developer or a coder, but the sensor, hub, and network part of IoT is integral to ECE. In sensor, there are three major components. You have the sensory part, you have the firmware part, and the network connectivity part. So firmware is nothing else but embedded systems. So if you are good in embedded system, you can design, you can program a sensor, you can design a sensor. And if you are good in communication engineering, you can even write the network stack for the sensor. And again, the sensor can be wireless or wired. It totally depends on the deployment. So when I talk about a Wi-Fi smart bulb, then it is a wireless sensor. If I say that a sensor is connected through Ethernet or through RS485 or through IC2 or any other kind of serial communication protocol, then it is a wired sensor. Then these are different types of wireless sensors available in market. There are different types of network connectivities varying from Wi-Fi to Bluetooth to Zigbee, Z-Wave. We have NB-IoT, which is for the mobile service providers. And then we have also LoRa, which is also a part of WAN. So these are some very popular wireless protocols being used for sensors. When we go for wire sensor, we can have serial port communication, RS485, UART, I2C, RS232, and so many are there. But again, this is all a part of ECE curriculum. Please, these are all basic fundamentals. And those students who are joining ECE, I request them that please be thorough with your fundamentals, because if you study your fundamentals well, you are going to excel in your careers. We have sensor output, also again a part of ECE. We have the networking. We have the two types of sensors who either give analog output or a digital output. If it is an analog output, usually the sensor is detecting in form of or giving the detection signals in the form of change of voltage or resistance. If it is a digital output, usually the output will be either in 0 or 1, like door sensor, which will give output as 0 or 1. And the type of technology is the read switch technology for the door sensors. And for the temperature sensor, one very common technology used is negative temperature coefficient, which gives the senses the change in temperature by the change in the voltage or the change in the resistance, which correspondingly changes the output voltage. So these are the two types of sensor outputs. I will, when I'm going through this, I definitely don't want to miss out on the most important usage of IoT. As of now, the drones are mostly heavily deployed with sensors all over them. So they have lots and lots of sensors around them. It is a system of sensors, and drones are very, very popular, especially in the war zones and for attacking and even for detection of attacks in war zones, and for emergency response, for disaster relief. So they're very popular, and drones are done by ECE engineers. And robots, again, robots are designed and done by embedded systems and ECE engineers. So they are used for rescue, disaster relief, construction. And nowadays, even for looking at the ongoing pandemic, very much they are used in hospitals for because of the contagious nature of COVID. They are being used instead of humans for giving medicines and other medical aids to the COVID patients. They are used heavily nowadays in many developed countries, and very soon we may be seeing them even in Indian hospitals, because we are also now running at par with the global scenario. So you can, of course, one day you can go to hospital and instead of a nurse, there might be a robot assisting you. It is quite possible. And so there is, in this coming ongoing, what I want to tell you very, very specifically, that the huge change or the paradigm shift due to this ongoing pandemic. So of course, the pandemic was a misfortune. It is bad, but it has also opened a lot of, plethora of technological development, because necessity is the mother of invention. And presently there has been a very huge demand for developers for embedded system, especially in the area of drones and robotics, because of the reason of the upcoming global warming and the corresponding climatic disasters happening the world over. So drones are very much required, robotics are very much required, and very importantly, plug and play networks, so that you can immediately in a disaster area set up an internet backend. And for that, the immediate setting up of a small self-healing network technologies, these are now becoming very popular. And all of these, trust me, require electronics and communication engineer, no less than that. So you can see the future, and for your convenience, I am just listing out some areas or some job roles, which are very, very popular and in huge demand. And because of the present geopolitical condition, you can also see upcoming demand in the area of drones and robotics also. So this is all from my side, and wishing all the best to the upcoming engineers, and wishing you a very good luck and a very bright future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
so
Srinivas.
much.
Thank you.
We would now like to move to the next speaker. I'd like to invite Dr. Yoganand Jepu, and he would be speaking on the topic electronic controls. Over to you, sir.
Can you hear me? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
You can see the screen? Good.
Yes.
So welcome all you students of 12th standard, and you're all thinking of joining a domain called engineering. You all want to become engineers, right? And I am the right person to talk, because I am coming from a family of engineers. My father was the first engineer in the complete village, or in our community, I would say. And then all my relations are all engineers. We are a family of engineers. So I have been in the field of engineering for nearly now 32 years. And this is just a disclaimer saying that these are my views. So a bit about myself, and I'm Yoganand Jepu. I am a systems engineer at Honeywell. So we are talking about electronics engineering, but what I want you to grow once you get out of the college after your 4 years in engineering field, you have to become a systems engineer. We will touch base upon that, okay? And I started my career as an electronics engineer, okay? So I belong to this fraternity of engineering of electronics and communications. But then I went ahead and did my post-graduation in control systems for the flight. And I got a mechanical engineering degree. And then I did a PhD in reliability under the electrical engineering at IIT Bombay. And but then again, everything was for the control system. So only thing I migrated to something known as a safety critical control system. So this is my pet field. So I'm going to talk about this. So I have about 32 years working only in flight controls. I have been doing a lot of things, simulations, verification, validation, and all that. And I am also on the committee of the National Aerospace. We look at flight controls that has been developed by India. Okay. These are some of the systems that I have worked on. So the flight controls for these aircrafts, I have contributed very heavily to that. This is the Indian system. These two are Indian systems. This is the Saras, and this is the Indian fighter, the LCA or Tejas. And I started my career, on these missile systems. So recent China, we had some border issues. So they moved these missiles to guard the borders there. So I was kind of very proud about that moment. The very recent thing I have done is a radar, which is a Honeywell product. So I'm just going to now show you a video, maybe two videos, and I will talk in the background. just to tell you, what electronics is all about and what is the future. So for me, it is a future. For you, it is going to be the present. So after 4 years, it is going to be the present for you, and you will be seeing this world when you go. So this is a radar which was there during the World War time, and this is a radar, just a flat plate. And radar is basically used to detect, objects miles away. It sends a radio beam, it gets a reflection, and it can sense. So this is the future of radar. And this is the Honeywell, radar that is used in the UAV. So we are talking about drones. So we are talking about much bigger than drones. We are talking about man carrying urban air mobility vehicles. Okay, and this is the radar. The beauty of this radar is there are no moving parts here. Okay, the whole beam is electronically steered. Okay, and that small radar that you see can be put on a drone like this, and the beams that you see is the scanning that is happening very fast. It is electronically scanning. It is scanning all around it, and it can detect these other drones. It detects a drone, could be a drone which is intruding the space, but then it can automatically move, and that automatically moving is again electronics. Okay, it can detect birds on the path, and it can maneuver around the birds and move forward. Okay, it can detect weather. 3 kilometers ahead of these drones, this radar can detect a patch, and then it can replan. So all this is electronic. Even the planning, the moving, everything is done because of electronics. Okay, it can detect obstacles. So you have these towers there, it can detect that, and it can maneuver. It can fly beyond them, it can go up. Okay, and then suddenly there is a GPS denial. Okay, so then it can switch over its senses. And finally, in the landing zone, it can detect the landing zone. Okay, if there is no obstruction there. So it is sending the beams all over the place, and it is landing. So this particular product, the RDR-84, has already been flown, and this is the future as far as I am concerned. But for you, it is going to be the present. Okay, so when you come out of college, you're going to see this happen, just outside your doors, perhaps. Okay. The other video that I'm going to show here is about internet. So, Madam talked about the IoT and the internet and all that. But suppose you're flying, how do you get internet there? So this is another product from Honeywell, which is harnessing the communication from the satellites. Okay, so that you have a seamless experience. So you are watching a movie, you get into the flight, and you still continue to watch the movie with the same bandwidth. And how does that happen? That happens because of the Honeywell JetWave. Okay, and what you see here is the the satellites, and on the aircraft you're going to see some sensors. That is your antenna, and the antenna is electronically steered, and to steer the antenna towards the satellite as the aircraft is moving is controls. The radar beams, the radio beams from the satellite, the up communication, down communication, all that is electronics. The satellites moving in space there, communicating to the earth, that is all electronics. So you see that red light there. So that is an antenna there, which is going to be, moving as the aircraft flies, always pointing towards the satellite. So this is the future, at least for me. I will now talk about safety critical controls. So I have been in this field for so long, right? When you may have heard it, in the pandemic, you normally hear, that people have been admitted. Oh, he's admitted in that hospital, but the doctor is very good and all that. So people relate to that good doctor. Okay, but if you're in a safety critical control system, people will relate to the good engineer. Okay, oh, that engineer has developed it, that company has developed this, so it has to be good. Okay, so what is safety critical control? So safety critical control systems are control systems where the human safety is dependent upon it. Okay, so what are they? Basically the railway signaling systems, okay, your medical devices, your nuclear controllers, okay, and of course the aircraft, which I have been working for so long. We have a fly-by-wire control system. You fly the aircraft, and the aircraft has a computer. Madam talked about actuation. So in this case, the actuator is a physical movement an entity that moves the surfaces of the aircraft. So that is a fly-by-wire. And why do they call it fly-by-wire? Because you are connected from the computer to the actuator by wires instead of mechanical cables, right? So you fly by, and then you have drive-by wires today. So even in the automotive domain, you have these electronic controllers. So this is basically, the safety is an interaction between humans, organizations, and the technology. And the technology is where you come in. The organization is the organization where you work, and human are you engineers, right? So when you become an engineer, all these things you will be in the loop for a safety critical system. Okay, so let us look at some of these things. So you have a railway signaling system. The whole thing is automated, just two people sitting here, controlling the whole in France, perhaps. All these things are automatically controlled, right? Any accident happens, two trains collide, so many people will die. Okay, so that is why it is a safety critical system, and the signaling is completely automated. Okay, this is a reactor core. Okay, the reactor core is in the nuclear. Look at all these blocks here. Okay, so these blocks are basically, we have a software called MATLAB and Simulink. You're going to study that when you join the the college here and do the ECE. You're going to understand what these small blocks are. Okay, so they are basically coming out of a software called MATLAB and Simulink, and these blocks, they represent something. Okay, and they are basically representing a control system behavior here, and these are used to control the nuclear fuel rods going up and down. So it's a safety critical system. This is a heart. Okay, the heart is inside the patient, and this particular thing is a control system for that particular heart, right? It moves, right? It pumps, and to make it pump properly, you will have the these coefficients. Okay, we call them as PID control. Okay, so proportional integral control. You're going to study all these in your maybe the 4th semester of what is control, and this particular control that you study tomorrow when you join the medical industry may be controlling a heart valve. Okay, maybe it is going into some relative of yours. He's very thankful. Hey, that this fellow's company has made these things, and it is working so nicely. You will feel so proud about it. Okay, and then of course the electronics in the cars. Okay, so today the electronics in the cars are all everything is controlled through these small computers. There could be maybe 10 of them, hooked on together using all the communication protocols that Madam was talking about, the serial, okay, the Ethernet, and we have military communication protocol called 1553. And then we have the airing protocols in the commercial aircraft. So all these wires, they are not actually wires. They are, we call them as buses. Okay. And on that, there is a way of sending information so that all the boxes communicate together. So this is again, electronics for you in the automotive domain. So these are some of the industries where you can go and join if you are doing the electronics. This is my favorite, okay, because it is a fly-by-wire system. So this is the first fly-by-wire system on an F-8 aircraft. Okay, it's a military aircraft on which they put the lunar computer, okay, whatever landed on the moon, with Neil Armstrong. So that particular computer was put onto this aircraft and they flew it. And it was a computer controlled aircraft. That is the first, computer controlled aircraft, I would say. Okay. And again, you will see here, these are the, Simulink blocks, which represents the control system. Okay. So what is this MATLAB Simulink I'm talking about? So this is basically a software. This originated in maybe 86 or 84 sometime. 1988, I started my career, and I have been using this software day in and day out. Every day I use this software. Okay, for the last 32 years, I've been using this software. So you're going to study these. And these blocks, so these are the small blocks I was talking about. You hook up all these together and, you come up with the controller. What is the size of the controller? You want to know? Look at this. So this is a Boeing 747 okay, aircraft. And what you see here is the, zoomed down version of the control system of this. How many blocks it had? It had 50,000 small elemental blocks, 50,000, okay, connected by 1 lakh lines, okay. All the blocks need to be connected, okay. It had 400 inputs. So these are 400 different inputs. Madam was talking about sensors. These are the sensors, 400 sensors, different things, right? Which are coming to you inside. And what are the outputs? The output goes to the actuators, which move these surfaces on this aircraft. So this is the Boeing 747-8. I have flown this from Germany to India, and it's beautiful. It landed happily. I am still alive. So that is a control system done, made in India. Okay, 50,000 blocks. Engineers coming out of the colleges around Bangalore, they made this happen, and in India. Okay, and this is the power of electronics. Okay, not a single line of code need be written. You can right click and say generate code, and an automatic code is generated from these 50,000 blocks. Okay, and that is the power of the technology that is there today. Okay, I do this work daily. Okay, for me, making blocks, making automatic code is part of me. Okay, I just want to summarize. This is the Indian LCA. Okay, it's a pride of India. It is with the Air Force now, and it has been delivering a lot of missiles. Recent firing was there, where it fired a beautiful missile. It's a war horse, right? So this has been developed in India. Okay, so today in India we have a team of control, electronics, communications, hardware engineers capable of designing the state-of-the-art fly-by-wire control system. Okay, this airframe is unstable. You will study all this. What is stable? What is unstable? Unstable means it cannot stand. It is like a drunken person, perhaps. He can't walk properly. So that is unstable. Okay, but then the control system is making it stable with the fly-by-wire controller, and that has been done in India, okay, by Indian engineers who studied in Indian colleges, okay. And I would just like to leave a message with you. Would you like to be one of them? Okay, if you would like to be one of them, you're at the right place. Join the college, do your electronics engineering, and be safe. You can take a snap of this. This has all the information about me, and that is again a technology for you today. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a wonderful presentation from your side, and I'm sure that the students will understand the overall outcomes, overall career prospects that they could look forward to, especially from industry people when they give a brief exposure. So we now move to the last speaker of the day, and we would like to invite Mr. M.N. Guru Venkatesh, and sir will talk about the placement scenario, the job roles, and the way forward. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. I'm audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. I'm Guru Venkatesh, heading the placement department at Dayanand Sagar Group of Institutions. Let me start with this note. I think all of you know, all of you are struggled a lot with this COVID. And last year I met a lot of parents. When they come to admission, they were talking to me whether engineering will be there or not, and job opportunities are there or not, whether my son or daughter can travel abroad, and what is the opportunities in abroad. There's so many questions the parent used to ask me, and always I tell parents, don't worry, another 4 years to go. By the time another 4 years, there will be a solution. We have a lot of engineers, doctors, and so many people available, and they will find a solution for this issue what we are currently facing. And it is true also. Second wave is almost getting ended, and there will be definitely some proper solution by end of another 2 to 3 years. By the time you complete engineering, all the hurdles will be over, and because of that, you don't take a different decision to join some other programs and You should have your dreams and you should aim for the, to reaching the goal. And always, I'll tell parents when they come to admission, first question they'll ask me, what is the highest salary in this institution, and how my son will get a salary, highest salary, and what sort of companies will come. This type of questions all the parents will ask me. Always I tell parents, don't worry about the salary, only focus on getting the skills. That's what we do in Dayanand Sagar University. We always focus to develop students and with proper training to acquire the necessary skills. I tell parents again, skill labor is not cheap. If the student is skilled, he can demand what salary he wants. He need not accept what salary companies are offering. And also those who are not getting a job, maybe a small percentage of students, I tell them, you are not having a right skill, you have to take up what sort of jobs are available in the market. With this note, I want to share some of the important aspects of placements and what are the company expectations and what you should prepare, and a lot of inputs from my side. As a university, we don't focus only on academics. We always develop students, overall development of students, we focus on that. And there are two components here. There are art skills and soft skills. Art skills is purely on academics, what chairman sir presented in the, during presentation earlier. Sir will focus on more about art skills, the technical skills, what is exactly required by the corporates. In addition to that, definitely all of you agree. Some parents are also watching today's session interaction. There are another set of skills that is normally we call as a soft skills, that is more important. I was reading one of the article before in one of the magazine. 70% of the success of any employee, credits goes to soft skills. Only 30% could be for art skills. Basically, also, I was talking to some other, technical team. They were also mentioning, Guru, if some students are not good technically in some of the aspects, we can train them. But if they are not good in soft skills domain, it's very difficult to train them in short duration. It takes a lot of time. Developing soft skills, it is over the period of time. That cannot be developed in a specified time like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. My message to all the students community here, try to learn, try to choose a university where you will be trained on both the domains. Never focus only on your technical skills. You always focus on soft skills also. When you join this program from semester 1, we focus on both aspects. Every semester, there is a fixed component delivered through experts. We always use industry experts to deliver these soft skills programs. This is what industry expects. Don't worry about this, picture on the screen. Day one, you should be, job ready. Earlier days, if you take 3 years back, things are different. They used to take the students and train them for 1 year or 6 months. Then they were used to put them into the project. But today is not like that. All the companies expect you should deliver from day one. Before joining the company, you should have enough right skills and proper information, knowledge, everything you should possess. And that's what we focus on during the course in the university. And this is interesting points I want to share with all of you. Always choose a program for the purpose. You should have a passion to purpose. What for you're choosing electronics and communication engineering, what you want to become. Okay. And you see some of the successful stories. Uber and Ola, they don't have any, means you can say single car, but they have a huge, base. It's just a software tool. How they are ruling you can imagine. All of you are familiar with this. And Airbnb also, they don't own a hotel today, but they are leading. They're doing a leading business across globe. Tesla is, I was talking to one of the group. They were telling today's cars are no more cars, mechanical cars. It is software on wheels. Okay, Tesla means software on wheels. Here, even mechanical engineer, even electronics engineer, you must focus to learn software and programming, embedded, all these tools. And automation is one of the key aspects today. It will reduce the cost of the operations and other things. And Amazon, all of you are using Amazon, today. They are entering into all domains. You see, multi domains they are entering. Earlier, they started with one business. Today, they are into different businesses. Like that, we have 3D printing, Bitcoin, and one of the familiar brand in the market today is going ID brand, dosa and dosa butter and idli and other things. I met him personally long back, and he said, "Guru, I want to do something different," and he developed an excellent model, business model. Today, all industries are hiring based on the skills, not your qualification. And maybe, as the Vice Chancellor sir rightly mentioned in the beginning, no more full-time employees in employment in future. You will be hired for 1 day or 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, and even 1 hour based on the requirements. You are going to face a challenging world. Okay, and always think out of the box. Don't think the way you are thinking now. And always there will be a market disruptions will be there. Okay, you have to overcome the market disruptions. Right side, I'm given some of the examples. You see Nokia, Kodak, and Sun Microsystem, Pager, Coinboost, where they are existing today, because they never thought innovation. And our chairman sir was telling every aspect in Dayanand Sagar, we use the component of innovation and creativity. And definitely you are benefited out of this. And our curriculum is all with creativity and innovation. We never use the outdated technology to teach. We always bring in new courses, new programs. And that is the reason why we change the curriculum almost every year. We have academic council from different industries, and we change the curriculum. What exactly industry wants, we train all the students.
Did you forget to mention Geo in market disruption?
Okay. Right, madam. Thanks. And another interesting things I want to share, many institutions are there in today in Karnataka, even India. How the Dayanand Sagar group is different. We don't focus only on knowledge. We always focus on experience with projects. We train all the components with projects, and also with creativity. We adopt the word creativity. You can make out the difference, all three. If you know only knowledge, you cannot apply those knowledge in the industry. Industry wants the last one, the last column with creative applications. That's what we focus, and we train all the students in our university system. This is an interesting slide. I want to spend some 1 minute time. I met both the guys. Luckily, I got a chance to meet Virat and Kapil in one of the event recently. And, we have spent almost 1 hour time with this first slide. If at all talking about, focus, dedication, hard work, passion, lot of words you can figure it out. Okay. And I want you to follow a good leader. Okay. If you don't like a cricket, need not to, follow Virat Kohli, you can follow somebody else. But what I suggest, from now you are in +2, moving on to your engineering and other programs, you try to adopt some good leaders from day one today, and focus on those, leaders, and follow the track, the success stories of those leaders. And also I met Kapil, and in that forum, Kapil asked all of us to ask one question. Every person can ask one question to him. I got a chance to ask him a question: how to define success? How to measure the success? And he beautifully answered. He said, Guru, success is nothing but talent plus commitment. And he also gave a beautiful example. He took, Vinod Kambli and Sachin Tendulkar. Both of them are friends, and they work together. They are from Mumbai, and where only Sachin can do wonders, and where Vinod could not do well. He said, Guru, Sachin had both talent and commitment, whereas Vinod Kambli had only talent. He was not having commitment. My message to all the students here: always have commitment to work, commitment to study, and don't expect somebody should police you during your study. Either your parents or your teachers or your professors or anybody. You are studying for your own survival tomorrow. Okay. And I was mentioned in the beginning what exactly we are different. As a training and placement department, majorly we focus on training you on communication and soft skills during the first year level. When you move on to second year level, we try to focus on value-added technical skills and certification programs. And third year also we continue that till you get a job from a reputed industry. And also we work with more than 250 companies. We have some MOUs with many industries. We help them to get internship placements, and also we organize a lot of webinars for students. And we provide a lot of training programs, and also we connect some industry visits also during your course. And more than that, we have strong alumni connect. Dayanand Sagar is existing from last 30, 40 years. We have a huge, alumni base. Wherever you go, whichever industry you go, you can find your friend. He will try to handhold you in that organization. That is the beauty of our university here. That opportunity may not be there for all the students, all the colleges and all the other universities. These are all the companies. This is a slide all of you are waiting. I know. Every year, more than 250 companies will visit Dayanand Sagar Group for internship and placements. This is the last year data I am just taken. Highest package last year we got 31.5 lakhs offered by one of the company, and around 15 students even got international placements. Some companies from Japan visited us and recruited a good number of students. If you ask me what are the different companies recruit electronic students, specifically electronic students, we have Continental, AMD, Quest Global, Bosch, Nokia, GE, Tech Systems, Parallelwise, Philips, Sony, L&T, KPIT, National Instruments, ABB, Move, Textron, Timken. The list will go on. These companies, they recruit only electronics engineers, and preferably now, if you take computer science as a branch, they only focus on software skills. Whereas electronic students will have combination of software and electronics. Some of the industries, particularly, they want electronics engineers because they can get from a single talent. They can get a two domain. You can work in two domains. That's the advantage for most of the industries. I have seen some companies preferred electronic students than computer science. But if you are only keen on programming side and you need to learn electronics, like some students will opt computer science as a course. These are last year statistics as overall, 2019, 2021 I have taken. All of you know 2020 and 2021 was badly hit to everywhere. These numbers may not be good in other colleges, I could say. Now in Dayanand Sagar, we could do almost the same as 2019. 20, we got 2,241 offers, and 21 is still going on. Another 3 months time we have. We already done with 1,889. In this COVID time also, everything was virtual. Even online test, interview, and discussion, HR interview, everything remotely we managed, and we could place a good number of students. I think this year also I'm seeing that the same trend is continuing. 2022 batch already we have booked around 7-8 companies to visit us. I think very few colleges we have this type of opportunity and advantage. Any company wants to hire some 10 students, they always give preference to the top institutions. They don't want to visit all the colleges to hire the students. In that direction, we have better advantage as compared to other institutions. This is somebody was asking me a question in the chat box. So what is the Dayanand Sagar University percentage of placements? First column, don't worry, it's only for MTech. That is, majority of MTech students is going for higher studies, not higher studies, like teaching profession. And second two columns you can see that is for engineering, exclusive for engineering. Before last year, we could do 75% of placements in campus cities. Okay, some students don't want to sit for placements, they want to go for higher studies and other things. And last year we could do 81% of the students got offers in campus cities. Okay, and again in that 10% will go for higher studies, another 2 to 3% will start their own companies, another 5% may not interested in any of the placements. Scenario will be like this. And this year we have already done good number of offers. Almost we are in the same range of 80%. We will definitely touch 90% this year. We are working on that. We will be able to do it. This is another interesting thing you should know, all of you. You are dreaming high, you want to a better job, better placement. You also should perform good during the course. You have to get minimum 6.75 CGPA marks. So even some companies will look from 10th standard also, 10th and 12th and diploma if you are done, and UG, PG also. The minimum criteria. If you have a higher percentage, it will be always better. And some of the industries, they don't prefer students, those who are written supplementary exam. For that reason, I request all of you to focus to clear every paper in a single attempt only. Never take a chance to go for supplementary. But some companies, they don't bother. Whether you are taking supplementary or all, they don't bother. They will go with hiring. But very few niche companies, they want best of the best. They don't want any student with some history of backlogs and other things. and try to have one original ID proof. Okay, always. Even today, when they are in final year, when I ask the students to submit one original ID proof, they say we don't have. It is there in my native place, or my father not given, or whatever it is. They say, I don't want to see any such cases. Now itself, you plan at least one ID proof, you should get it. And again, this is one of the interesting points I want to clear to all of you. The job market will not be same as it is like what you are seeing today. 30 to 40% of jobs will vanish in next 2 to 3 years. Definitely, there are new roles coming up: data scientist, automation engineer, AI and ML engineer, cyber security, network specialist, VLSI specialist. So like that, the new names will come, and you should prepare for it. See, earlier days, they used to come to college. They were only talking about, I want to hire some 10 electronics and communication students. And future will be different. I want to hire 10 electronics and communications specialist students, those who have a knowledge on VLSI, and those who have a knowledge on robotics, those who have a knowledge on sensors and automation. These type of things are coming up. You should be very particular. You should choose a particular domain and focus on that. And always the demand for skilled manpower, no doubt in that. And differential pay scale hiring. This is a trend I am seeing in our companies. And earlier days, they used to come to college and give a same salary to every student in the college. But today is not like that. If X company is visiting college, they may give 3 different pay scales based on your performance and skill sets. Some students may get 5 lakhs, some student may get 10 lakhs, some student may get 15 lakhs based on the skill sets. That is a new trend I'm giving, I'm seeing. My message here is prepare well and try to get higher pay scale jobs. Don't target for the lower pay scale jobs here. And always be active in social media platforms. I'm seeing trend to hire, more companies are hiring through social media. Even the Facebook and other platforms, LinkedIn and other platforms. Extensively, some companies are using LinkedIn platform to hire. Create your profile and update the profile with all your skill sets. Start from now only. Every semester when you pass on, every year you pass on updating the skills in the social media platforms, and somebody will be watching. And if any requirement in any organization, you may get a call. And similar way, there are a lot of hackathons, competitions, events will happen across India and across even globe. Try to participate in all the events. That will guide you and also inform you about the events. Don't miss any opportunity. Try to be active in coding platforms. Programming is one of the basic things for everyone today. There is no branch things. You take Google CEO is a metallurgical engineer, and today is a CEO of a IT big company, that is Google. Okay, branch is not a matter for you. Try to become a best programmer. If you are good in electronics and best programming skills, you are the highly paid professionals in the market. That don't forget it. Okay, if you joined electronics, don't say I don't learn programming, because your demand will go down. If you are multi-skilled in 2 areas, your salary will be doubled. Definitely, you can demand double salary in the industries. And also, I am seeing another trend today. Majority of the companies are hiring first as an internship they provide. Based on the performance, they convert into full-time offer. If you don't do well, then they will send you out. That trend is increasing now. That is a caution for all of you. You may get a job, but you want to retain or you want to continue in the job, you should have the right skill sets. Always I tell students, take a proper decision. Always remember, your efforts and wrong tools, no results will come. Try to choose a best university, best college, and best students, best team, best friends. Then you will have a results. If you do a wrong tools and wrong college and wrong friends and wrong approach, then you will not have the good results. I think with this note, I will close my session and wish you all the best to all of you. And hoping that I have covered most of the points, what exactly you're looking. And good luck to everyone. Enjoy. And let us, hope we will meet again. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'd like to inform all the students who are here about the process. As you are aware that the examination results for all the boards today for the second PU, the 12th standard, whether it's the state board, whether it's going to be the CBSE, ICSE, it's going to be declared based on your internal marks, based on some of the criteria, which means that the passing percentage, the number of students passing this year definitely is on the higher side. Most of the students, almost 90+% of the students are going to be declared pass this year, which means there's going to be a heavy rush suddenly in most of the institutes. While we talk, we also see a good amount of rush coming in at Dayanand Sagar University for the various courses, non-engineering as well as engineering programs. And we have two modes of admissions available with us. One, of course, is where you can come through the Dayanand Sagar admission test. The first test is happening, the first series of tests is happening in this week, but for which the registrations have already been closed because we have been full in terms of the registrations for the examinations. The second round of test for the DSET is on 27th of this month, where the registrations or the applications for this particular examinations will be closed by 24th. So we would look forward to all of the students applying for this online through our website, dsu.edu.in. You have any of the queries, you can always call up on our phone numbers that are displaying on the screen. And this particular test is going to happen on a Sunday. You can log in and we will send you all the credentials once the application is in place. The results of this test, in case if you are shortlisted, you are selected, you will be given the offer letter to come and join the university. And of course, people who write the DSET examinations will and who will be successful in these examinations will get a scholarship amount of around 50,000 rupees on the regular fees that has been charged by the university. If students do not want to write the DSET examinations, they could approach the university. The eligibility criteria, if it is fulfilled, and if the seats are available, you will be able to get the seats under the direct admission, which is slightly more in terms of the fees compared to the DSET qualified student fees. So all the engineering programs at Dayanand Sagar University, students need to go in through the DSET for getting admissions into these programs. So I hope all of you enjoyed this session. I would like to thank all the speakers for today's session for giving a wonderful insight in the area of electronics and communication engineering, especially with the newest specialization like automotive electronics, embedded systems design, IoT, VLSI design, as well as signal processing. These are the new areas, and students will definitely, who are going to make a career in this, will see a lot of job opportunities being coming on their way. So a wonderful career awaits you. We look forward to seeing you soon, either through the direct mode or through the DSET examination mode. Thank you once again to all the speakers. Thank you once again to all the students. Enjoy your evening and please stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank